you have a 2008 song called the Camp Song. Now, this song
Yeah.
is a part of the repertoire for all these different camps in Canada. Can you talk about that song? How did that come to be? I guess the writing of it, and then how did it become kind of this theme song for different camps?
Not just in Canada. That song is a theme song for camps literally all around the world. And it's funny, like I love that song. I'm super proud of it. It's led to like amazing, all kinds of incredible experiences in my life. And it's also often my number one song on Spotify. It's just like
It's still number two
2008.
right now. It's
Yeah.
number two.
And
Yeah.
like I'm just like desperate to let some of the newer music kind of be the first things that people find. But I'm not going to pull it off Spotify because it's very well loved. But it's like it's funny to me that I can't sort of get the other music to surpass that song.
You can't
But
escape
the
that song. Yeah.
no, and again, I'm deeply proud of it. I wish I could like update the recording slightly, but it is what it is. Um, the uh, the way that that song came about was the International Camping Fellowship. It's a professional organization for camps. They do a conference actually every 4 years, so it's kind of a big deal. And they get camp directors literally from all around the world to come together and share best practices about camping. And they were looking for a new theme song, and so they reached out to me asking if I would write a song on commission, and so I wrote that song. I grew up going to summer camp as a big part of my life, and I sort of had a little bit of a mandate that I didn't want it to be sort of your typical camp song, like one fish, two fish, or like sort of your like
That's kind
bang
of
on
catchy
the.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. Thank you. Maybe I'll write another one. But I wanted it to just be a song that kind of walked the line between something that people who went to camp would really resonate with, but also just something that would kind of exist as a folk song in and of itself. And so that was kind of the mandate that I had set for it. So I wrote that song, and the world premiere of the song was at this conference that had about 1,000 camp directors from all around the world. So I played this song, and all of a sudden it went boom to camps literally everywhere. I mean, there's camps in Turkey and like China, like Germany, all around the world. They play this song, and it's gotten so big in that world that it's people don't even know that I wrote it anymore. Like it doesn't always necessarily point back to me. In fact, a friend of mine who's a camp director described a scene between two of her staff, and they were talking, two of the counselors, they were talking about the camp song. And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I love the camp song. And one person was like, who wrote the camp song? And one of the staff said, it was Bob Dylan. And then the other one corrected her and said, no, 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 it was a guy named Peter Katz, but he died like 100 years ago. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's it. So,
You're the
so
you're the stuff of like folklore legends. I like it.
exactly. So it's I've had many camp folks say to me, like, Peter, when you die hundreds of years from now, this song will still be played. And if that's my only legacy, I'll still be proud. That I actually just I used to play at a lot of summer camps. I haven't been able to do it so much in over the last many years, but there's one camp that a friend of mine runs, Stu, and he's been running this camp for 30 years, and he decided that this was their final summer. And I've been playing for the staff every year for the last 13 years. And so I was just up there about a week or two ago for their final night, the
Is
final.
this the Alberta camp?
No, that's the Alberta camp is the camp that I run. It's not exactly a camp, but sort of feels like a camp. But
Mm.
no, this is YLCC, is Youth Leadership Camp, and anyways, so to see the impact of the camp song on this group, and obviously I've been going there for 13 years, and this moment of all of them like just bawling their eyes out, arm in arm, singing the camp song like at the top of their lungs. It was I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It was such a special moment. So um I feel a deep connection to camp. And for me, camp, I mean, even the lyrics of the songs in the chorus is like it's not about the cabin walls or the trees or whatever. Like camp is a feeling that you get, and you could have camp in a parking lot if you have the right people. And camp for me was a place where I felt safe, where I felt I could take risks. Camp is where I really fell in love with the guitar. It's where I learned to sing. It's where I learned my love of the outdoors. It's where I felt like much safer than I felt in the hallways of school. And so it is an honor that I get to sort of represent, I think, the incredible value of camp through that song.
Man, unveiling the camp song in front of the 1,000 camp counselors. That's like the perfect product, getting it to the perfect demographic, the target audience. Like that couldn't be more perfect.
It was camp directors, and it was an unbelievable moment. I will never forget the feeling in the room as that song unfolded and 1,000 people went like this, and it was rapturous. Like the applause was very special.
Are you familiar with the documentary Searching for Sugar Man?
Oh yes, I'm
So
highly
you're
familiar
like
with
the
it.
equivalent of that, where in another country, this guy's the stuff of legends like Bob Dylan, and then he's like some random dude in North America, and uh,
Yeah.
people don't know. So that's like you with the camp counselors around the world, and they think maybe Bob Dylan sang that song. So, anyways, that documentary came to mind when you were
I
saying that.
actually, in one of my keynotes, I referenced Searching for Sugar Man because the whole youth mentoring work that I do in Alberta, I had a bit of a Searching for Sugar Man moment where I went out to Alberta, and I was invited to play this show in this beautiful theater in Fort Macleod, Alberta. I'd never been there before. And I was thinking, like, who's going to come to this show? Like, this is like, 300 seat soft seat theater. I've never been in this town. Like, what's happening? And I walked out on stage, and the place was packed, and they knew all of my songs. And it turned out that this youth mentoring program had been using my music as part of their curriculum. And like hundreds of kids every summer were being exposed to my music, maybe being forced to learn my music. And they had organized this show as a recruitment effort to get me to come work for them, because they had reached out to my manager, who had said, no, Peter's not a camp counselor. And so, long story short, that's the youth program that I run every summer. I'm actually now one of the session leads, and I run 40 kids through this curriculum, and we take them hiking and rock climbing, whitewater canoeing. But it's not really about hiking and rock climbing, whitewater canoeing. It's about facing your fears and developing empathy and supporting each other. And it's really just an unbelievable program called Faces. And so that was kind of my Searching for Sugar Man moment, where it was actually at a time where I felt like my music isn't working, like I'm not reaching people, it's not happening. And all of a sudden, this was happening behind the scenes, and I had no idea.